Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast, here for another team season preview, and this time it's a turn of the Dallas Cowboys. That's right, America's team. And with me, I've got two brand new guests on the podcast from their own podcast, which I've been very lucky to be a guest on. I've got two guys from the Good Teams, Great Teams Cover podcast. First of all, I'm here with the main host of the show, Paul Redman. Paul, how are you?
Cheers. Hi, Andy. Thanks for having us on. I'm real good, thank you. Excited to talk about the prospects of our 2024 Dallas Cowboys. But yeah, appreciate having you on. You've been such a good guest on our show, so it's awesome for you to have us on yours.
Well, it is a great podcast, and I've loved the off-season content. I particularly loved, as well as my own episode I was on. I really enjoyed recording that. But I did love the Greg's draft. I'm not going to lie, that was really fun. I was shocked that the steak bake fell far. That is my go-to order, and I was just waiting for where's steak bake, and it just kept being missed. And one thing I've not even heard of, one of the things I forgot, it wasn't a festive bake. It was something I think your one, Paul. It was like an old, was it the corned beef?
Oh,
that one, yes, yeah. That one was I had not heard of that. But yeah, that was
needs to come back. That's what needs to happen. We need to campaign Greg's to bring it back.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it's very, very nice. And as you can see as well, for those watching on YouTube, we are also joined by another member of the Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover podcast. With us today is another Cowboys fan in Byron. Byron, how are you?
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, again, always delighted to be discussing our Cowboys and look at the 2024 season and hopefully better than last year. Not too confident it will be, but fingers crossed.
We'll find out. I'm sure we'll find out later on. And of course, our final segment, which will be our win-loss tie section, which the boys will be alternating between from weeks 1 to week 18. Now, before we get to any of the 2024 talk, as you are newbies, it's our standard question we ask all of our new guests why they chose the team they did, especially from a UK point of view. I love hearing UK point of view answers because you haven't got that sort of, you haven't got that. Some do have the family ties, but not in the UK. You've still got a bit more of a free reign to choose, and there's so many different reasons, whether it's loving Motown for the Detroit Lions or whether it's when on holiday to Florida, pick Buccaneers. And I think there's so many more choices than just I live in Green Bay, therefore I'm a Green Bay fan, or therefore I live in Washington, I'm therefore a Commanders fan, that kind of stuff. So Byron, back with you first. What made you a Cowboys fan? And just put out, you actually live in Chicago, so you are speaking to us at a different time to me and Paul. But you are live from the States, from Chicago. But yeah, why a Cowboys fan?
So weirdly, I followed the NFL for a few years, playing Madden, watching whatever games we could. I moved to the US 5 years ago. My accent probably gives away I'm from the UK originally. And I'd watch what games we could. I was a uni student, didn't have Sky Sports then, so it was Channel 5, Mike Hallen and Nate Coombs. And I didn't really have a team to root for. And then it was the 2006 season. And I think it was week 3, week 4, maybe a little later in the season. And it was Giants at Cowboys. Drew Bledsoe, terrible. Couldn't move, couldn't throw a ball. Just, man, this guy stinks. And going into halftime, all you hear is, we want Romo. And I'm like, yeah, we want Romo. I don't know who Romo is, but I want him. And this could be fun. And then Romo comes out to start the second half. First pass, drills it, 20-yard interception to Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce. So not a perfect start, but bounced back, ended up throwing, I think, 3 interceptions in the game, 2 touchdowns. But I just got a real good vibe about this guy. Loved watching him play, and essentially became my all-time favorite NFL player, Tony Romo. I just loved watching him. Loved his connection with Jason Witten, T.O. as it came. I just started rooting for them from there. Just totally loved the Tony Romo story. When I eventually moved to the States, I ended up living 20 minutes from Tony Romo's hometown, which I didn't realize before I moved. Ended up picking up burgers during COVID from what essentially is a pub, bar, restaurant / Tony Romo museum. All his high school jerseys, helmets, you name it. And actually, when you enter the town of Burlington, Wisconsin, I have a picture before we left and moved down to Chicago of home place of Tony Romo, which I absolutely, unsurprisingly, adored. And it was just my birthday last week, actually. And one of my friends got me a Tony Romo. It's not a rookie card, and it's a bit blurry on here, but
that's amazing. That is cool. That is
with a Cowboys mini helmet.
Nice.
So I don't collect much merch, but yeah, it was a real nice surprise. So yeah, essentially, I love and adore Tony Romo. I still do. I think his commentary game's gone down a little since when he debuted, and as he gets less connected to the players who are playing, I think that's inevitable. But I had that connection to Romo and that Cowboys team, and then kind of just stuck from there. So
yeah, that's fair enough, really. I mean, I became a fan before even watching a game. So I've always said that if I had just simply watched the NFL, and I think which is what I've actually advised a lot of newcomers to the sport, just watch the game, watch a season on Red Zone or whatever, and you'll find a team you love. And I do feel like if I did that myself, it would have been one of probably Chicago, Denver, or Dallas Cowboys. I know most non-Cowboys fans have a hatred towards the Cowboys, but I actually have a little soft spot towards the Cowboys. Now, I don't know whether it's just because that navy blue uniform you've got, or whether it's just white uniform and the star. And I've since been to Dallas, and I absolutely loved it there. So I kind of feel like I never really have the hatred that others do. Now, I'm fully aware that I did a TikTok where I compared them to Arsenal, and I hate the Arsenal fans, but I never really get irked by Cowboys fans. Apart from maybe one TV personality that maybe gets on my nerves during coverage, but overall, I never really had a true hatred towards them, and and I would happily go back to Texas if tomorrow if I could. I really would. Now, Paul, for the same question to you, what made you a Cowboys fan?
Yeah, my story isn't quite as cool as Byron's, to be fair. I do like Byron's story about becoming a Cowboys fan. Mine's from, I was at university, and one of my buddies was a big NFL fan. And I tried to get into it a couple of times, struggled with it. One of my closer friends, friends from back home in Manchester, he was a big NFL fan, tried to get me into it a couple of times. Struggled with it, but I sat down and watched a Monday Night Football game. It was 2008 season, week 2, Eagles at Cowboys, Monday Night Football. My buddy was at university, was an Eagles fan. So just for the sake of balance while watching the game, stayed up and watching the game, I followed the Cowboys. The game ended up being a fantastic game. It finished 41-37 to the Cowboys, and it was just a fantastic game. It was on one side for the Eagles, Donovan McNabb and Deshaun Jackson just going long touchdown passes, long plays down the field. It's the game where, I don't know if you remember it, or you might have seen the moment, but Byron, if you remember, where Deshaun Jackson drops the ball, throws away the ball right as he's getting to the break there. And they end up having to run it in from the 1 yard line. But it would have been like a 70-yard touchdown, and he just flips it before he breaks the end zone with the ball. So it's that game. And on the other side, it was Romo and Terrell Owens doing the same thing, and it was just a fantastic game. And I was like, this is what it's going to be like every week. Wasn't quite, but I just kept with the Cowboys from there ever since. So 16 years ago, that was the night I became a Cowboys fan, and been with them ever since.
Fair enough. It's been I'm sure an eventful ride for both of you, which is probably what you wouldn't say about their off season. I mean, it's been a real lack of real activity. I mean, there's been plenty of out. Tony Pollard's gone to the Titans, Michael Gallup to the Raiders, Tyron Smith to the Jets. And then 3 players going to Washington in Tyler Biatz, Noah Igbenogamy, and Dante Fowler, as well as Leighton Van Der Esch leaving for retirement at 28. Also players leaving such as Stephon Gilmore and Jaron Kearse. Only real ends I really can think of were Ezekiel Elliott, Royce Freeman, and Eric Kendricks.
So I know what you're probably thinking. You've heard me say Michael Gallup has left for the Raiders. This was recorded a couple of weeks before his retirement from the NFL was announced. So apologies for those watching or listening to this podcast. That obviously shows the time we were recording this podcast. So that explains why we've not mentioned Michael Gallup retiring from the NFL.
And then draft-wise, just a few main highlight picks include the likes of Tyler Guyton, Marshall Nealand, both going in 29th and 56th overall respectively out of Oklahoma and Western Michigan, as well as Cooper Beebe, guard, Kansas State, 73rd overall, and I'm going to really butcher his name now. Maurice Liafau, linebacker out of Notre Dame, 87th overall. We'll head to you first, Byron. Of course, something that included, as mentioned then, the return of Zeke Elliott, which I'm sure for a lot of Cowboys fans is quite nostalgic. Your take on the off-season as a whole?
Very underwhelming, truthfully. Yeah, Zeke's nice from a nostalgic view, maybe like you say, but you don't really get many points in the NFL for nostalgia. And Zeke he got there on volume last year in New England, but he wasn't a good player. And that running back room it's appalling, truthfully. Rico Dowdle isn't a game-changing player by any means. Juice Vaughn I like, but it's tough to see that he'll stand up to a workload. Zeke has long past his best. And yeah, I think I like the all-line additions in the draft, BB and Guyton, but it's a lot of pressure for them to perform immediately because there's not much more in additions there. I'm just, a lot of people have poked fun at Jerry Jones's all-in comments, and I think that's to a degree fair. Jerry sets himself up for being a figure of fun, essentially. But I think it's really hard to argue that the Cowboys are in a stronger position now than they were 12 months ago. They still have deals to do with CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott. All of that hangs over their head when you look at how, division rivals Philadelphia handle their business early. They self-scout really well. They don't end up overpaying because of it. It is, you do have envious eyes looking across the division, certainly. So, yeah, it's been an underwhelming off-season for me.
I think there's a case you can make for certain teams to not upset the status quo. They've still kept off. They've still got the likes of Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, as we were saying just then. But I know I always like to allude to the fact that Liverpool won the league, and that summer they spent $1 million on both Sepp van der Berg and Harvey Elliott, and I think that there was a lot of talk back then that they should have bought more players, but it turns out didn't matter. But I'm fully aware that it's a different sport, first of all, but also that team is just so good. Whereas I don't think the Cowboys team overall is that good to then just rest on your laurels and not buy any and not sign anyone. So, and I don't think
Mike McCarthy's ever been accused of having mentality monsters, like
no.
Jurgen Klopp had. So
quite the opposite, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's like, and as well, it's not just like if you haven't lost anyone, maybe you could argue then, but you've lost, many players, and Michael Gallup was a good servant for you. Pollard was a great RB2, and I think he still had some value to yourself. So, Paul, does that worry you at all? The fact that there isn't really seemingly a run game going on in Dallas. I mean, Zeke Elliott is there now, and he did form a nice 1-2 punch in his final year before he left. Had his year in New England, but it's been 2 years since that, and he didn't show anything really in what was a really bad Patriots offense. And I don't think the rest of the running back room is anything to scream home about. Does that worry you, as well as what Byron's saying about the whole lack of off-season activity? Does that and the lack of running back room or strong running back room worry you going into 2024?
Yeah, I think for me, Mike McCarthy made a point at the start of last year about trying to be more balanced in the offense. We saw Kellen Moore left and went to Chargers, and about just trying to balance things up and being able to kind of play football that helped you win in December and January. And a key part of that is being able to run the ball. And I think I'm interested in Zeke in terms of, I understand there's that nostalgia piece for him. It was a really, really bad New England Patriots offense. And also, I'd say this Dallas Cowboys line should be a lot better. I know it's going to have a couple of younger pieces on it, but as a whole, the line should be better. So I'm interested to see, actually, maybe we're not going to certainly see 2016 Zeke, but I think actually Cowboys might be able to get a bit more out of him than they did. I think somebody else needs to step up, whether it's Dowdle, whether we see more from Juice Vaughn. So I think it could be a worry that then it all starts to fall back on Dak again, and it's all about having to make big play after big play in the passing game. So it is a concern, but we'll see. Somebody's got to emerge from that, because I think it's safe to say Zeke will get a huge chunk of the carries. somebody else needs to emerge, whether it's Dowdle that continuing his progression, or whether we can see more from Juice Vaughn. I thought we'd see a lot more out of Juice Vaughn last year in 2023, but we kind of didn't. We only saw fits and starts from him. I'd expect to see a lot more from him in 2024 as well, and that might help then to kind of balance the burden a bit more.
I think as well, we talk about lack of activity. I think other teams have improved massively. You think about 12 months ago, you were seen as one of the contenders, but since then, the Lions had an amazing year. They were fancied last year, but they hadn't quite done it yet. So there was always that question mark: are they going to do it? Are they not? So they're now a contender. The Packers, Jordan Love came into his own down the stretch, particularly, and obviously you guys will know pretty well from the wildcard round what you can do. So the teams around them are just doing. Have improved in the NFC. I think the NFC was once quite a weak conference, but now you're seeing, albeit still is weaker than the AFC, but I think as a conference overall, it's definitely improved and there's more stronger teams than there was maybe 12 months ago. So with that as well, it has to be a worry, not just for the fans, but I think Mike McCarthy, and that's my first real question I want to ask you guys, was about Mike McCarthy, and I feel like I'm repeating myself from last year. Because I asked Alan last year the exact same question because it was the same thing then. And we know that Garrett lasted a long time as head coach. So Jerry Jones seems to like yes men and seems to like guys who do what he says and don't sort of fight back, like we saw with Jimmy Johnson back in the day. So he's probably not on a hot seat because of that reason, how loyal Jerry Jones has been to former coaches. But do you think, Byron, there's any way he is on the hot seat going into this year?
Yeah, I think he is on the hot seat, yeah. I think he has to win at least one playoff game this year. I think it is probably curtains for him, essentially. I think he was, I don't want to say lucky to survive after the Green Bay showing, but I think Dan Quinn leaving town made it easier to not have a wholesale change at head coach. It's easy to say, well, we're changing DC. And I think Mike Zimmer is a real good addition, to be fair. Mike Zimmer won't be, Dan Quinn certainly isn't soft by any means, but I think the run game will improve with Mike Zimmer. I think he's much more hard-nosed than Dan Quinn, which I think will improve the defense in terms of getting out more of what we have, especially in the run game. But yeah, I think McCarthy is on a hot seat. I think there's a slight, very small percentage, I think, of Jerry Jones just looking at Bill Belichick being available, and Jerry loves a big swing, and he's going to be there. Belichick's going to be on TV every week. If mid-season things aren't going well, I don't expect there'll be a mid-season change in Dallas because that's pretty rare. But I do think having the greatest head coach of all time available might be enough to push Jerry a little further to making a change. But I do feel a little for Mike McCarthy because, 12-win seasons aren't easy to come by, but Super Bowl wins are even harder. And it just doesn't feel like Mike McCarthy, I know he's won one with Aaron Rodgers way back, but it doesn't feel like he has the juice, essentially, to push a team over that. I'm not sure that he really excels at any one thing. He's not an excellent play caller. He doesn't seem to be like, a great CEO type who just has a great, like John Harbaugh, who manages his players to a higher level. He does seem like he's a Jerry Jones type of head coach who, he does what Jerry wants, and that's enough for a lot of the time. But I think there's going to be a certain point where that isn't going to be enough, and I think it probably will be this season if things don't go well.
And Paul, do you agree with that in terms of, do you think Belichick is the guy, or do you worry that maybe the whole going back to the Jimmy Johnson thing, the fact that Jerry Jones doesn't like guys who challenge him? Belichick seems like a guy that definitely would challenge Jerry Jones in any sort of situation. So, would that be who you'd want to see, or was there maybe any other head coaches that maybe you would look at if Belichick, first of all, wasn't interested, or whether they went down a different route?
Yeah, I think for me, I fully expect this to be Mike McCarthy's last season. This is the last year of his contract. How the off season's gone in terms of you've lost 9 starters from the year before and not really replaced them. You've kind of go through that regeneration of the offensive line that have been so good for so long, and you've got a coach sat there on a one year left in his contract. So doesn't really seem to be much faith from Jerry Jones around that Mike McCarthy is going to be here and going to be here for the long run. I think for me, assuming again Mike McCarthy leaves, regardless of what happens, I think I kind of think even if Dallas won the Super Bowl, I think he might go, which is a crazy thought. But Mike Vrabel's there, and that would be my choice.
personally, I think he's going to be a real in-demand coach. I think he's going to be able to pick whatever job he wants. Coach Vrabel, next off season, I was fully surprised. Really surprised he went through this hiring cycle and didn't, after leaving the Titans and didn't get on anywhere. But that would be my choice. I kind of love what he did with it kind of fell a little bit away at the end with Tennessee. But I think, to get them into the position that he did, I think, we got them to, they were number one seed in the AFC. When was that? 2020, maybe, or 2021. Won playoff games. I think he would be my personal choice. And again, they just bring that toughness that I think this Dallas Cowboys team is missing.
I love that so much. I think I was like you. I was so shocked that he didn't get a head coaching role, because I think that a guy who he did last year, but he wasn't quite as good. But I tell you what, it'd been a lot worse if he wasn't there, and it's going to be a lot worse, I think, this year for them without him, because the new head coach could come in and could be a great head coach. Don't get it wrong, but he may not be, and I think that Vrabel, got more wins maybe they should have, and I think there's probably the game that will probably haunt me for a long time. The game in Hard Rock against ourselves, that game, I don't think they win that if he isn't there. As well as if we had any sort of brain cells, I think that would have probably won us the game. But I think I'll be swayed by you, Paul. I think if I was taking between Belichick and Vrabel, I would pick Vrabel, because Belichick did seem a little bit towards the end like he was sort of going a bit stale, maybe had no new ideas, and hasn't really gone that well since Brady left. And I think there's always that feeling now that, maybe a couple of years ago there was it Brady, was it Belichick? I think now we all know that it was probably Brady more than Belichick. I think, I don't personally see him returning, but I would also not be shocked if he did, because I think if you love football that much and someone like Dallas Cowboys comes available, you take it. So I think he definitely would, should the opportunity arise, he would take it. But I would go for Vrabel. I think what I would do, I don't know whether this is possible, I'm not going to say do I forgot the guy's name, and give the whole team all my draft picks, but certainly I would look to trade maybe even a couple of first-round picks if that's possible, and just get Sean McVay in. I think Sean McVay, I generally think he's probably the second best coach in the league behind Andy Reid. I think Shanahan is the better regular season head coach, but Sean McVay has done it time after time in playoffs. And I think, that's if you could go for it, I would say go give the Rams, many draft picks, and just get them Sean McVay, because I think Sean McVay, if he wanted to go to, would be the perfect guy for that team. But moving on.
I think that might be the big issue, that I think Sean McVay is pretty happy in LA. He seems to have a pretty sick life, to be fair, from all the things I see of him. Not that he's on social media, but whenever people post about it, I'm like, man, that guy has it made. I'm not sure I'd be looking to move.
I'm assuming he's in Beverly Hills. Why would you leave Beverly Hills? And that is, and I think not a lot of LA isn't that nice, but Beverly Hills is superb, and Santa Monica Pier and all that. And I think if you like your son and it's a very chill lifestyle, then I could see that, because Dallas, as much as I liked it, I think LA as overall package has probably more people would like that than maybe Dallas. Actually, Sean maybe reminds me of, I don't know whether you boys watched The Simpsons, but Hank Scorpio. You ever seen him?
Yes.
He reminds me so much of Hank Scorpio. It's from the looks and the personality. I mean, he sounds a bit like Hank Scorpio. He looks like Hank Scorpio, just a bit less evil than Hank Scorpio was on that episode. I'm
not sure how he feels about hammocks.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, you got Tom Landry's hat as well. There's a little bit of NFL reference.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. But we're moving on from offense to defense. Now, Micah Parsons has been one of the best defensive players in the league since he came to the league, basically. And I think it's pretty established that he is in certainly the top 5 defensive players in the league right now. But one thing he hasn't done yet is win the Defensive Player of the Year. Now, we've seen Garrett finally win it last year. TJ Watt before as well. Do you guys think, I'll go to you first, Byron. Actually, I'll go to you first, Paul. We asked Byron first last time. Do you think this is the year that Micah Micah Parsons wins Defensive Player of the Year?
He's certainly there. I think he's right there. There's probably 3-4 guys. I think he's in that top. Garrett, TJ Watt, Max Crosby, Micah Parsons. I think they're the four that kind of stand above everybody else. And that's not to say that the other guys aren't great, but I think they're just kind of that one tier above. And I think it's between those four. And we've seen Garrett won it last year, but should maybe it still been TJ Watt. I think they're so close. But yeah, I think he's going to have to get a lot closer to 20 sacks. I think, what was he, maybe 13, 14 last year. So I think he's going to have to get a lot closer to 20 sacks to do it. But yeah, he absolutely can. I think his games come on under Dan Quinn. And a lot of it, I think there's been a lot of talk around how for the first couple of years in the NFL, he was just winning just by his pure athletic ability on the line, less, not so much technique wise. I think he started to develop that as well. He has got everything. He's got the total package. So yeah, I think I'm expecting him to kind of take another step. We saw maybe kind of the first half of the season, he was probably kind of the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year, which again, TJ Watt had a great start, Myles Garrett had a great start, but Parsons was again above, but he just kind of got a bit quiet down the stretch. So he's going to need to find that consistency to go kind of all 17 games. But yeah, he absolutely can win it. I'm not sure where he is. We had a look at it, didn't we? I think Byron a couple of weeks ago on the show.
Plus 550 to
plus 550, so he's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, second favorite.
Yeah, I think for me, if it's not one of TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Parsons, and Bosa, I'll be shocked. I mean, a little bit of a spoiler into our predictions episode, which will come later on, about a week before the season starts. Right now, things may change between now in my mind and that when we record that episode. But I do think Bosa's going to win it. Now, I don't know if you've seen the memes about the Trump shooting, but there's been a lot of memes about that being the reason why he wins it. But I just think that even without that, I think personally, if there's one player I'd want in my team defensively, I probably would pick Bosa. I think he's that good, and I think he is better than. I think a prime Nick Bosa, if I'm honest, is better than the prime Joey Bosa, in my humble opinion. But I do think it will be one of, for me personally, Bosa or Parsons, if I'm honest. Byron, do you agree?
Yeah, I think, if you give me even money on every single defensive player in the NFL, I might bet Micah Parsons. It's TJ Watt, Parsons, Bosa, Garrett, like Paul's saying. Max Crosby's in there as well. Aiden Hutchinson's kind of an outsider betting wise. And then after that, it's 20-1s. So, it is really a strong front six. I mean, that'd be a great front six, Jesus. But yeah, I think Micah's got as good a chance of any of them. Like Paul says, just needs to get those sack numbers up a little. But in terms of like pure ability to wreck a game, highlight plays, he's as high as anybody can be, I think, in the league right now. So, yeah, 550, not sure I'll be staking a huge amount on it because it's such a short price, but I think he's certainly in play for it.
Plus 550 or 11-2 in UK money.
Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah, I was going to say that I still get so confused over US betting. I'm seeing like plus 2,000, plus 3,500, and it's like, what? So yeah, no, I think when Paul's told me that, I can sort of get to grips a bit more with just what the odds are. But we are going to head to our final segment, which is going to be our win-loss tie section, which, for those who aren't familiar listening to the format, every guest who comes on predicts their team's record by going through each game and answering with a win-loss tie record. Now, first of all, you are a newbie, so I'm not going to recap of old records like with other guests you've had on before for previous teams. And as you are a duo, we're going to alternate between games. So Byron has taken on weeks 1, 3, 5, 8, 10, as well as weeks 12, 14, 16, and 18, whereas Paul has taken on weeks 2, 4, 6, 9, 11, 13, 15, and 17. So week 1 is with Byron. You're on the road to Ohio to take on the Cleveland Browns. Win, loss, or tie?
Loss.
Okay, interesting. Of course, fun fact, anyone listening or watching on YouTube, this is going to be Tom Brady's first game as a announcer, which I'm looking forward to. which I know not many Dolphins fans can say. But I've heard him briefly announce on the I think it was a USFL final.
Yeah.
Where he sounded really good. And I think if anyone knows, I think anyone can overcome a challenge, being 199th overall, being the 5th or 6th choice quarterback in Michigan. I think if anyone can do it, it's him. And I think that, I think he's got a great chance. And I think he could be the next great announcer, could be the, next John Madden in terms of, not maybe on that scale, but in terms of great coach going to great announcer. I think he could make that jump between great player and great announcer. Actually, speaking of finals, I don't know whether you saw, I can't think what the final was, but it was done in a shopping mall the other day. It was like an
arena football.
Arena football, yeah. It's in Jersey.
That was amazing.
I've seen the highlights. Yeah. Well, I've seen some highlights. Yeah. Unusual scene.
Yeah. But I think it's great because I don't know good stereotypes, but, you think on a Saturday afternoon, you've got 9 times out of 10, the dynamic is the husband's out with his wife. He doesn't want to be there shopping. So you can almost let her. And I'm fully aware that these days it's maybe not quite that same dynamic, but I can imagine if you're going with someone and you don't want to shop, but they do, you can just leave them to decide and let them shop, and you can just watch the football, and then they can let you know when they're done. Obviously, no real investment in the game, so you can just almost leave whenever you want. You're not sort of really want to stay till the end, but you can. Yeah, you can get a few hours out of it, and you can get to watch at least a couple of quarters. And
arena football is a great product for that as well, because there's no like 3 yards in a cloud of dust. It's high octane, yeet the ball down the field. There's no like, I'm not saying there's no strategy to it. That's unfair, but like it's a highlight game. So you want to sit and watch 20 minutes of it, you're probably going to see some good players.
Yeah, absolutely. I just couldn't imagine at like the Trafford Centre or I just couldn't imagine rocking up and seeing like people play NFL. That would be it'd be amazing to watch. I would love that. But you
remember Sky Sports used to do like the veteran soccer fives or soccer
Masters.
Masters. That's the word I'm looking for. That'd be a great thing in that kind of environment.
Oh. Or like that advert for Doritos where it was like Emmitt Smith and Dan Marino and all coming back to play flag football. That would be actually I would love to see that at the Olympics. Just forget the youngsters, just get those old timers in, and that would be almost give the whole rest of the world a chance at flag football. I remember I went to Minnesota and I went to the Mall of America, and then inside within 5 minutes I saw a catwalk and a kids theme park. That was really I was expecting to go and just see a lot of shops. I heard it was a lot of stuff going on, but I didn't think I'd see a theme park and a catwalk. It was nice but rather bizarre, I'd say. It wasn't quite what I was expecting. So week 2, your first home game of the year. Paul, you're hosting the New Orleans Saints. Win, loss, or tie?
I'm going to get in trouble for this one because my girlfriend is a New Orleans Saints fan, but I think the Cowboys will crush the Saints in week 2, and that's not to say the Cowboys are any good. I just don't think the Saints are going to be particularly...
Not even win.
Not even crush. Yeah, that's going to be one of them. Cowboys win by 40 and the hype starts coming, and that happens early in the season. But yeah, apologies, Jenny, but yeah, I think the Cowboys will crush the Saints.
So whilst we're on it, actually, I think I asked you guys for your team. Why is your other half a Saints fan?
It's because their jerseys and colour mixes, they're the best jerseys in the NFL. That's the main reason. It's a fashion choice, but she's a very passionate New Orleans Saints fan. So.
Yeah, it's the one sport where you can go by fashion, because you think about, especially these days, if you buy football kits change every year, and rugby sort of similar thing. But with NFL, it's been the same jerseys for a lot of people for years and years, and even then, when they do change it, it's not really much different. So I think that's always something I recommend as well. If you like a jersey, I would say go for that, because you'll like. First of all, if you buy a jersey, it's going to last for years and years. It's not like these days you spend £80 on a football shirt, you get it for Christmas, and within 4 months, season's done, your shirt's almost irrelevant, or it's like 40 quid cheaper. But with NFL, you buy a jersey and it lasts you for years and years. Back to you, Byron, for week 3. You're at home once again, but this time to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, and all the joy of that crushing over the Saints won't last long, because Lamar Jackson comes into town and wins, and another loss for the Cowboys.
Okay, and in week 4, You're facing the stars of Hard Knocks as you travel to New York, MetLife Stadium, to take on the Giants.
Yeah, I think that'll be a comfortable win, another comfortable win for the Cowboys. Obviously, they own the Giants recently. I mean, that's gonna break at some point, isn't it? But yeah, they're gonna continue their winning streak against the Giants.
But we also what happened in Week 1 last season. With the way it's going for the Giants, might be more of the same in that game. And Week 5, back to you, Byron. You're traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers.
Yeah, finally get to predict a win. I think they'll just oust the Steelers, on the road.
Okay, and then Week 16 is a almost like a Thanksgiving bowl. You take on the Detroit Lions at home.
Yeah, I think the Lions will get their revenge from kind of how that Week 17 game went last year, where maybe they were robbed of a win at the end. I'm going to say the Lions come into Jerry World and get that win back.
Okay, now you got a Week 7 bye before your Week 8 game. Now, normally you think of a bye week, you think of that's a perfect chance to rest, and you would normally bank on the team on the bye week winning the game. But if you're going to do that, you've got a tough test as you travel to the San Francisco 49ers. So, Byron, back with you. Win, loss, or tie?
Loss.
Yeah, that is fair. They're going to be, I'm sure, once again, very good this season. Paul, Week 9, you're staying in the West Coast. You take on the Arizona Cardinals.
Falcons, isn't it?
Falcons. We've got the Falcons.
Let me get my... I might have done this and got it wrong. Give me a second. It is, apologies, it is the Atlanta Falcons in Week 9.
Well, look, because you've got the right thoughts about the Falcons there, just kind of forgetting about them because the Cowboys are going to go to Atlanta and win. I'm not convinced by the Falcons. They've had a lot of off-season moves. Kirk Cousins is in town, etc. But yeah, no, Cowboys are going to notch up another win against the NFC South.
Okay, and then Byron, back to you for Week 10 as you host the Philadelphia Eagles.
So as our part of our division preview, we've done a gold, silver, and bronze time of the Olympics bets of the season for each division. My gold bet was for the Eagles to go 2-0 against the Cowboys, so a loss for Dallas here.
Okay. Week 11 is a Texas derby as you host the Houston Texans, Paul.
As it's in Dallas, I'm going to take the Cowboys to beat the Texans in Dallas. Be a very tough game, be a great game. I think that's probably one of the top games, primetime games of the season to look forward to. I think it could be a really, really fun Monday Night Football game. But I'll go for Dallas to sneak it at home.
Okay, so then Week 12, back with you, Byron, is a road game against the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, Washington coming off the bye. In Washington, but still take Dallas to win. It's still Washington.
Okay. And then Week 13, you're back again against the Giants at home.
Yeah, Thanksgiving night, I'll take the Cowboys at home to the Giants. Again, as mentioned earlier, I think that run eventually is going to come to an end against the Giants. I don't know, what is it, 12, 13 in a row? It's getting silly. But yeah, I'll take the Cowboys to sweep the Giants again and win at home on Thanksgiving.
So, Byron, Week 14, you're hosting the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, off the mini bye from Thanksgiving to Monday. I love the Bengals, but I'm taking the Cowboys to win this one.
Ooh, okay. I was expecting to hear a loss then.
It's going to be a tight one, I think. I love the Bengals, but I just think on the road, extra bit of rest.
What another great Monday Night Football game as well. That should be, if you're expecting kind of where the two teams kind of maybe should be, big playoff implications for both. Yeah, what a game!
That is one I'll be sure to be watching. I had my differences with Joe Burrow, but I can't help love watching him play. So that's going to be really exciting. And I think
have we seen Joe Burrow's hairdo from the day we're recording?
No, let's have a look at this. I need to see this because he had cool hair last year, and then obviously he got injured. Never got to see him really shaved haircut. Okay, and where can I find this picture? Because right now it looks like
if you Twitter search Joe Burrow, you'll probably find it. That's where I found it. Someone posted one of my group chats.
I'm going to go on to the next game and look for it whilst the game's been predicted, which is going to be. I've forgotten who's actually next. That's throwing me off a little bit.
It's Paul.
It's me, yeah.
At the Panthers.
At the Panthers. I mean, a 4-game winning streak. Can they continue in Week 15?
Yeah, I think they will do again. Kind of Panthers possibly could end up being the worst team in the NFL again. And it's a weak division, isn't it, the NFC South? So I'll take the Cowboys to go 3-0 against the NFC South team so far.
Wow, I've just seen the hair. It's a shame we didn't see this before. The Lions mentioned, because obviously he's got very slim shape. He's fitting out. He's done it in the same week as Eminem's new album, but the death of Slim Shady seems to be reincarnated into Joe Burrow's head. So, but you're fair play to me. But I liked his hair last year. I liked the fact he was embracing a longer sort of look, and I would kill for hair like that. So, I surprised he's gone for that look, but each their own, isn't it? Each their own, I suppose.
He's very swaggy.
Yeah,
he does not care. He's very his own man.
Exactly. So back with you, Byron, for Week 16 is a home game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are, by the way, our next season preview, by the way. So those who are listening, keep an eye out for tomorrow, the day after it's released at 6 p.m. for the Buccaneers season preview. But Byron, carry on.
Sweep the NFC South. Cowboys win.
Wow, okay. So right now, looking at a 6-game winning streak, which would be, we talked about before about building up the hype. This would certainly do that. And it's just prime for a Cowboys to collapse now, because get the hopes up, get a good run of form going, and then you get to the wild card round, probably against Packers or Niners, and you once again lose to them.
Probably.
Support is your, I believe it's your penultimate game predicting this in this season, and it's also the last road game of the season against your bitter rivals, the Eagles.
Well, if we end up being right and the Cowboys have just won 6 in a row, then this could be for the division, right? Cowboys, Eagles, Week 17. But I'll back Byron's bet just to stick with my guy. I'll take the Eagles to sweep the Cowboys. If that game is as big as we've kind of worked it out to be, that should be Cowboys, Eagles, potentially for the division, potentially for a number 1, number 2 seed as well. Depending how the other teams are doing. But yeah, I think that might be too much for this Cowboys team to do, to go into Philadelphia in a game like that and win. So I'll take the Eagles.
Okay, I mean, it's the way it's gone really the last number of years. It will be someone else winning that isn't the Cowboys, because
it's 20 odd years since somebody's won it back to back. I think Eagles won it 3 years in a row. 02, 03, 04 maybe, or 01, 02, 03, something like that. But yeah, it's 20 plus years since somebody's won it back to back. So yeah, you're right. It probably is going to be somebody else.
Yeah, and definitely not the Giants.
Yes, that's for sure.
Finally, Week 18, back to you, Byron. You have got the extra game to predict. It's a home game against the Commanders.
Yeah, Commanders still the Commanders. So yeah, Cowboys win.
Okay, so that means that you do finish your record with 11-6, which is you would think would be good enough to make the playoffs, maybe even win the division. So, if you were to make that 11-6 record, make the playoffs, how far do the Cowboys go in the postseason?
If they went 11-6 in a wild card and got the NFC and end up with the weakest division winner, the NFC South winner, I think they'd win a playoff game. And then, on the road to Philly, to Detroit, to San Francisco, probably lose there in the divisional round. But if they went 11-6, they're probably going to end up with the NFC South, assuming that's the weakest division winner on the road. And I fancy them there. Very similar to 2022, I guess. And then, if they had to go on the road to Philadelphia, Detroit, or San Francisco, I'd be worried they'd get a real bad beating.
Yeah, fully agree, truthfully. I think really their only chance of winning a playoff game is the NFC South, however that comes. And I think the first real team they play, they're probably not winning. So, as was kind of the way the season went in the picking each week as well. Like, I think I predicted them to lose to pretty much every good team they played. So,
it's interesting because you think about if you're going to win the NFC East, it's going to most likely be a second or third seed. You think about who the 6th seed is going to be, maybe 7th seed. You think of at least one of the NFC North teams. You think about either the Packers or the Lions or the Bears, and it could be the Rams or the Seahawks or tough teams to play. So it's almost like guess that week 18, and if you win, you win the division. If you lose, you get the 5th seed and play the 4th seed. Can you see the team almost, or the fans actually wanting to lose that game, because you would surely much rather face the Falcons or Buccaneers than any of his teams I just mentioned from those divisions?
I think in theory, yes, but I think in reality, you want to be winning and you want to have home games. As much as it's nice to think, we'll beat the Falcons or the Saints or the Bucks, whoever. I'm not even going to give the Panthers the thought of that, because that's not happening. It's a nice thought, but I think you just want to have home advantage and try and push that as far as you can. I don't think they're in such a position that they can be picky about how they get there. I think you just try and win, especially we had that pretty nice end to the season run there. Apart from when they played Philly, I think it was 7 out of 8 wins. I think you just want to try and keep that momentum going and try and get as many home games as you can, will be my approach.
Okay, and that is where we will end the podcast for today. So once again, huge thank you to both Paul and Byron for coming on. And for those watching on YouTube, you can see their social media handles on the video, so do give them a follow, both the podcast and also Byron's handle you can see there. But yeah, once again, huge thank you to both of you for coming on today.
Thanks for having us. It's always a blast. Cheers, Andy.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Andy. Thanks.
So that is the end of my chat with Paul and Byron from Good Teams Win, Great Teams Win cover. But we have also spoken to Alan Woods, who was on last year's podcast for the Cowboys. He couldn't sadly make the podcast, but he has given me his predictions for the season by his own win-loss tie segment. Here it is.
Hey everyone, my name's Alan. I'm a massive Dallas Cowboys fan, and I'm going to be predicting the 2024 season. Just quickly going through, starts off a mega tough one at Cleveland, week 1. I'm going to say the Browns win that one. I just think they're just too good on defense at home. Week 2, they're playing the Saints in Dallas. I don't much rate the Saints, so I'm going to say that's a win. So that takes the Cowboys to 1-1. Week 3 is the Ravens. Obviously, that's one of the hardest games of the season, even though it's in Dallas. I'm going to say the Ravens are going to win that one. It's 1 and 2. Week 4, thankfully we get some respite. We're going to New York to play the Giants, so I'll say the Cowboys win that one. I just think the Giants are in a bit of a transition, and yeah, I'd be pretty gutted if we lost that one, even though it's on the road. Week 5 is against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. They're a tough cookie. But I still think the Cowboys are going to have too much for them on offense. Week 6, we play the Lions at AT&T again. Last year, we got so lucky to beat them. Everyone knows we got super lucky. And I'm not sure we're going to be as lucky this time, so I'm going to say that's a loss. Week 7, we aren't going to lose or win because it's a bye week. I guess there's plenty of time to face the 49ers and prepare at Levi Stadium, which is a little bit of a, theatre of nightmares really for the Cowboys in recent years. I can't see us winning even with the bye week, so yeah, that's going to be a loss. Week 9, we're playing a much improved Falcons team, I expect, in Atlanta. I still expect the Cowboys to win this one though. Week 10, we're playing the Eagles at AT&T in Dallas. I still fancy the Cowboys to win this at home. The Eagles, I'm not sure how good they'll be this year. They'll obviously contend for the division, probably win the division because no one wins the NFC East twice in a row. So, but I still see the Cowboys winning this one. Week 11 is against the other team from Texas, Houston Texans, in Dallas. They're a very young team. I think the Cowboys can just about squeak a win in this one. I know that no neutral will want the Cowboys to win, but I still think the Cowboys can squeak a win. Week 12 is against the Commanders, so again, they're going to be really interesting to play against. Jaden Daniels will have a lot of chance to bed in as quarterback by week 12, but I still think the Cowboys will have too much for them. There's just not that much that's changed for the Cowboys compared to the Commanders going into this season. Another divisional game against the Giants at home in Dallas. I'm going to take the Cowboys to win that. Week 14 against the Bengals. Now, the Bengals have a bit of a hoodoo against the Cowboys. They haven't beaten them for a little while, even though they've been good. It's in Dallas again. I'm nervous about saying it, but I'm gonna take the Cowboys for a win just because it's in Dallas. But yeah, we've been living dangerously with them. Week 15 is against the Panthers. I'll be mega gutted if we don't win that one, even though it's on the road. Week 16 against the Buccaneers in Dallas. I want to say the Cowboys will win, but I feel like I've said that we're going to win a lot. They can't all go our way. So I'm going to say we're going to lose that one. That's me why. You know, the Cowboys will be favoured. I just think the Buccaneers, they do a lot of things great. They're a consistently decent team. And yeah, something's got to go wrong here, really. So we'll say that. Week 17 is against the Eagles. At the link, don't fancy us to win that ever. So I'll say Eagles win. Then last week, week 18, is in Dallas against the Commanders. I'd like to say we'll win, but there's a chance we won't win just because maybe we don't need to win. I think that puts us at 11-6. I think. Yeah. So yeah, I think Cowboys definitely should be in the playoffs, but yeah, I'm not sure it'll be the best of seasons. And this is all sort of slightly dependent on CD Lamb and Dak Prescott playing. If neither of them playing, just reverse it. 6 wins, 11 losses. Go Cowboys. How about them Cowboys?